I made more money off this than I ever made off my chickens. Look at that. That's $412 in 1 week from an animal most people have never even heard of, raised on a piece of land smaller than a basketball court. No feed store trips every other day, no predator losses, no neighbor complaints about a rooster crowing at 5 in the morning. If you've got a quarter acre and you've been told chickens are your only option for homestead income or self-sufficiency, I need you to stop right now, because chickens are actually one of the worst uses of small acreage, and I'm about to show you exactly what to do instead. Here's the blunt truth nobody tells new homesteaders. Chickens are marketed as the starter animal for a reason. They're cute, they're easy to find at the feed store, and everyone's grandma had a coop. But on a quarter acre, chickens are a land-hungry, low-return, high-hassle animal. You need at least 4 square feet of coop space per bird, 10 square feet of run if you want them somewhat humane, and even then, your egg production tanks every winter when daylight drops. You're feeding them daily, cleaning bedding weekly, dealing with mites, dealing with hawks, dealing with the smell that creeps toward your property line the second it rains, and at the end of all that work, a dozen eggs sells for $4, maybe $5 in most markets. You are trading hours of labor for grocery store money. That's not a homestead income plan. That's a hobby with a bad hourly rate. Think about what a quarter acre actually is. It's roughly 10,800 square feet. Once you subtract your house, your driveway, a shed, and some walking space, you're realistically working with maybe 3,000 to 5,000 square feet of usable ground. That is not a lot of room to be generous with, and chickens are one of the least space-efficient animals you could put on it. A dozen laying hens, housed and run properly, will eat up close to 200 square feet and give you maybe 8 to 10 eggs a day on a good day. Compare that to what I'm about to show you, where the same footprint produces daily protein, weekly meat, and a product almost nobody else in your town is selling. The animal isn't the problem. Loyalty to tradition over math is the problem. Most people never sit down and actually compare square footage to output, so they keep doing what their neighbor does. And their neighbor is losing money too. They just haven't done the math either. So here's what I want you to do instead, and I want you to actually write this first one down, because it's the single fastest change you can make this week with zero new construction. Switch your mental model from raising animals to raising protein density per square foot. That one shift changes everything about what you choose to put on your land. Once you're thinking in density instead of tradition, quail become obvious, rabbits become obvious, and mushrooms and microgreens become obvious. None of these are exotic. All of them are legal in far more places than backyard chickens, because most noise and zoning ordinances were written with roosters in mind, not quiet animals the size of your fist. That's step 1. Before you buy a single animal, retrain how you evaluate your land. Ask, how much protein or product can I get per square foot per week, not what did my grandparents raise?
Now let's get into the 5 things that actually work on a quarter acre. And I'm going to show you the real numbers for each one, because vague homesteading advice is what got most people stuck raising chickens in the first place. The first swap is Coturnix quail, and this is the one that made me that $400 I showed you at the start. A single quail needs roughly 1 square foot of space. That means in the same footprint where you'd cram 6 or 8 chickens, you can comfortably house 60 to 80 quail. They reach laying age in 6 to 8 weeks. Compare that to the 5 or 6 months you wait on a chicken. And a healthy hen will give you an egg almost every single day, even through winter, because they don't have the same daylight-triggered production drop that standard hens do. 5 quail eggs equal roughly 1 chicken egg nutritionally, so a small flock of 40 layers is producing the protein equivalent of 8 chicken eggs a day from a coop you could build out of a single sheet of plywood and some hardware cloth. And here's the part that actually pays the bills. Quail eggs sell as a specialty product. Farmers markets and restaurants pay $2 to $4 for a half dozen pickled or fresh quail eggs, not because they're rare to produce, but because almost nobody in your area is producing them. You're not competing with the guy down the road who's been selling chicken eggs for 20 years. You're the only booth with quail. That's the entire game. Supply density most people never learn to raise, meeting demand nobody else is filling. There's also a legal advantage most people never mention. Coturnix quail are classified as poultry in a lot of jurisdictions, but because they don't crow, don't fly well, and stay quiet even in large numbers, they slip under a lot of the same restrictions that block backyard chickens in suburban or small lot zoning. Always check your local ordinances before you build anything, but I've talked to homesteaders on lots smaller than a quarter acre, inside city limits, running 40 or 50 quail with zero complaints, in towns where 6 chickens would have triggered a call to code enforcement. That alone can be the difference between a legal income stream and a project you have to hide from your own neighbors. The second swap, and the one with the fastest return of anything on this list, is meat rabbits. A doe and buck breeding trio needs about the same footprint as a single chicken run, maybe 60 to 80 square feet if you're stacking hutches, which you should be, because rabbits are one of the only livestock animals that thrive vertically. One doe can produce 30 to 40 kits a year across 4 to 6 litters, and each rabbit reaches processing weight, 4 to 5 pounds of meat, in about 10 to 12 weeks. Do that math against a broiler chicken, which needs almost double the floor space per pound of meat and takes nearly as long to finish. Rabbit meat also sells at a premium in most areas right now, anywhere from $6 to $9 a pound, because it's leaner than chicken, it's having a real moment with health-focused buyers, and almost no small producer near you is filling that gap. The setup cost is shockingly low. Used hutches show up on marketplace listings constantly for next to nothing because people underestimate how fast rabbits multiply and then panic sell the equipment. Buy that equipment. That's someone else's mistake becoming your head start. The real number that matters here is feed conversion. Rabbits turn about 3 to 4 pounds of feed into 1 pound of body weight, which is close to, and in some breeds better than what you get from a broiler chicken, but you're getting there with a fraction of the water, a fraction of the smell, and none of the disease risk that comes with brooding chicks. Rabbits are also silent. There is no crowing, no early morning noise complaint, nothing that draws attention from a neighbor peering over the fence. A stack of 4 hutches tucked against a shaded wall of your shed can run a breeding operation that most people would need a barn for. And because rabbits breed so reliably, you can plan your harvest schedule almost like a production calendar instead of guessing. The third swap doesn't even need to be an animal, and this is the one most people skip because it doesn't feel like real homesteading, which is exactly why it's underpriced. Oyster mushrooms grown on straw or spent coffee grounds can be produced in a space as small as a garden shed, stacked on shelving, using almost no daily labor once the blocks are inoculated. A single 5-gallon bucket of substrate can produce 1 to 2 pounds of mushrooms per flush, and you get multiple flushes off the same block over several weeks. Gourmet mushrooms sell for $8 to $12 a pound at farmers markets and to local restaurants, who are constantly hunting for a reliable local supplier, because most gourmet mushrooms on grocery shelves are shipped in from hundreds of miles away and arrive half-wilted. You can go from spore to first harvest in as little as 3 to 4 weeks, faster than almost anything else on this list, and it takes up literally zero outdoor land. If your quarter acre has a shed, a basement corner, or even a shaded lean-to, you already have a mushroom farm you haven't started yet. The fourth swap is one that scales beautifully alongside the rabbits and quail because it turns their waste into your next revenue stream instead of a disposal problem. Vermicomposting or worm farming. Red wiggler worms take up almost no space. A few stacked bins in a shaded corner of your quarter acre can process pounds of kitchen and animal waste a week. And what comes out the other end is castings, which sell for shockingly high prices to gardeners because they're considered the gold standard of organic fertilizer.
Castings routinely sell for $10 to $15 for a small bag, and the input cost is close to zero because you're feeding the worms scraps and manure you're already generating from the rest of your setup. This is the piece that makes your whole quarter acre operate like a closed loop instead of 5 separate side hustles. Nothing goes to waste, and every part of the system feeds the next part.
The fifth and final swap is microgreens, and I'm putting this last because it's the one you can start literally tomorrow with supplies from a hardware store, and it's the fastest cash cycle of everything on this list. Microgreens go from seed to harvest in 7 to 14 days, depending on the variety, grown on trays you can stack on shelving in a spare room, garage corner, or that same shed you're already using for mushrooms. Chefs and health-conscious buyers paid $25 to $40 a pound for microgreens, which sounds absurd until you realize a single 10 by 20 tray produces roughly half a pound to a pound per cycle, and you can run multiple trays through multiple cycles every single month. There is no animal to feed, no manure to manage, no predator risk, and no seasonal slowdown, because you control the light and temperature indoors. This is the piece of the system that keeps cash coming in every single week while your rabbits are growing out and your mushroom blocks are colonizing. Stack all 5 of these together: quail for daily protein and specialty egg sales, rabbits for high-margin meat, mushrooms for a zero land footprint product, worm castings turning your waste into fertilizer income, and microgreens for a fast weekly cash cycle, and you've built a small acreage system that produces more usable food and more sellable product than a quarter acre of chickens ever could, in less space, with less smell, less noise, and honestly, less heartbreak, because anyone who's lost a flock to a hawk in one afternoon knows exactly what I mean. The reason this system beats chickens isn't luck, and it isn't some rare piece of land you don't have. It's that chickens ask you to trade a huge footprint for a slow, low-margin product, while quail, rabbits, mushrooms, worms, and microgreens all ask for almost nothing in space and pay you back in days, not months. You don't need to start all 5 at once either. Pick the one that matches what you've already got sitting around: a spare shelf for microgreens, a shaded shed corner for mushrooms, a few unused square feet for quail, and get that one paying for itself before you add the next. That's how you build a real system instead of 5 overwhelming projects at once. If you actually want to see how I built this whole system out step by step, from the first hutch to the first farmer's market table, I've got a full breakdown video that's already crossed 124,000 views because people kept sharing it with friends who were stuck in the same chicken rut I used to be in. It's linked right here and in the description. Go watch that one next because it picks up exactly where this video ends, and it'll save you months of trial and error. Subscribe if this actually opened your eyes to what your land can really do. And I'll see you in the next one.